Hi, I'm Patty Works with Amplify Science, and I'll be walking you through this video on daily planning and teaching with remote resources. We'll look at the 5th grade Modeling Matter unit in these examples. This video will focus on orienting you to the location of the different at-home resources on the program hub, sharing considerations for weekly planning with Amplify resources and some sample weekly plans, and outlining the process for daily planning using the planning tool. Here's the agenda for the video. First, we'll look at where to find the resources and documents that will help you with planning. If you're already familiar with locating the at-home resources and you know what's new, then you may want to fast forward to the planning segments. There will be a slide with the chapter photos down the left-hand side, like this slide, that signals the start of section 2 and 3. That's about 7 minutes into the video. In section 2, we'll discuss weekly planning considerations and look at a couple of weekly plans. In section 3, we'll use a planning tool and a 3-step process for planning a daily lesson. As you're watching the video today, please jot down any questions you may have, and my email address will be in the last slide. I'd welcome the opportunity to answer your questions and plan with your team. If you're a new Amplify user, you may want to start preparing for the unit by watching the Modeling Matter unit orientation video to get a feeling for the flow of the learning throughout the unit. It's on the FCPS Teaching and Learning YouTube channel at curriculum@fayette.kyschools.us.fcps. Amplify Science at Home contains a growing number of resources for teachers and students for remote instruction. New documents like the lesson index have been added. To access the at-home resources and other professional learning resources, click on the global navigation icon, the little hamburger, in the upper left-hand corner of the screen on the Amplify platform, and then scroll down to the gray Program Hub icon. After clicking on the Program Hub, select I am a teacher, and then Remote Learning Resources from the menu on the left. Scroll down and select your grade level. Just like on the Amplify platform, you'll select your unit. One of the first places you want to look is the Teacher Overview. Below the overview, you'll see the primary remote resources for the unit. The remote resources are separated into 2 groups, the at-home units and below that, the at-home videos. The at-home lessons are numbered 1 through 18 for this unit. The at-home videos are numbered to match the platform lessons. You may choose to use both at-home lessons and platform lessons or at-home videos. The lesson index helps you cross-reference between the two if you decide to use some of both. Here you'll see what's in the lesson index. The first page shows a matchup between the at-home lessons and the platform lessons that correspond. The second page shows student sheet pages and investigation notebook connections. You may choose to integrate some resources from the Amplify curriculum. Remember that Google Slides and PowerPoints on the regular platform are editable and available for every lesson on the lesson brief page. The student investigation notebook pages are on the unit landing page, and they can be useful to project or adapt for student work. The at-home units have slides and student sheets that can be assigned for asynchronous work as long as students have tech access. They can also be used for Zoom sessions and shared by the teacher if you'd like. Each at-home lesson is estimated to take about 30 minutes. In the at-home slides, there are shortened links, tiny URLs, to videos of hands-on demonstrations, digital tool and SIM uses, read-alouds of student books as well. Students can use these links to watch videos on a device as small as a smartphone, and they're directed to them at the moment in the slide deck when it makes sense to watch them. Students can access books, digital tools, and the sim from home by going to apps.learning.amplify.com/elementary. They need to select Login with Amplify and then enter the username and password ampsci123. Then students will select their unit picture to get to these materials. At-home videos have been made for each activity in each lesson on the platform. They can be used as models for making your own videos, assigned as they are for students to view, or you can show segments in an online science class. They're also great for makeup work when a student misses an online class. They're estimated to take about the same amount of time as a lesson would on the platform. Here you see the one-to-one correlation with activities from lesson 1.5 on the left and video segments on the right. In other lessons, you may see one activity on the platform split into parts, like when there is a book read aloud. This allows you to use or assign parts of activities if that best suits your purposes. At-home videos have thinking prompts. Ask students to pause and write answers, stand up and try acting things out, or go talk to a partner at home. They can be used with just pencil and paper or with a science notebook. Now we're ready to take a look at some weekly planning considerations. As you get ready to plan for a week of science instruction, here's a few things to consider. How much time do you have each day for science instruction? How many of those days are you able to have synchronous sessions with your students? For synchronous sessions, do you want to screen share the at-home slides or use the slides from the platform? Which lessons or sections of lessons would be most effective for online classes? Well, as you're considering which things to do during live instruction, the following activities are recommended for inclusion in synchronous sessions: online discussions, demonstrations of how to use digital tools, interactive read-alouds, shared writing experiences, co-constructing class charts, and hands-on demos can be done with the teacher demonstrating or by showing a video of the hands-on activities as seen in the links on the slides. Here is an example of a weekly plan with the at-home resources, assuming I had a 30-minute class period and I planned on meeting in a Zoom session with my students each day. I looked at the key activities in each at-home lesson, and I decided whether to split the lessons between 1 or 2 days. I felt like the first 3 lessons, when I looked at the at-home slides, could be done in a 30-minute window. I implemented the use of Jamboard on Monday to get everyone awake and sharing ideas when we're discussing their ideas about what food scientists might do. Lesson 4 looked like we might want to take more time with it, so I split it between 2 days. Students will learn about the chromatography technique and watch the experiment in the embedded video on Thursday, noting their observations. Friday, we'll get back together for some meaning making about what they saw. I looked at the teacher overview and decided to share on my screen the at-home slides in our sessions and have students write in their notebooks at home, with the exception of the pre-unit writing. I think I'd assign the at-home student sheets for that through Google Classroom. Another option could be for students to photograph their notebook writing for the pre-assessment and send that to me. Here's a sample of a weekly plan, again with a 30-minute time block. I reconfigured the same lessons for a week where I could meet synchronously with students Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and they'd have assignments at home on Tuesday and Thursday. I highlighted places I adjusted for the asynchronous blocks of time. On Tuesday, students will use the at-home videos to observe like a food scientist. Students observe mixtures in the video, and they pause to set up a table in their notebook to record observations. The video segments lead them through some discussion. I'll ask them to be ready to share what they observed when we meet for lesson 3 on Wednesday. On Wednesday, we'll start out discussing their observations and introduce the scale tool. Then I'll read Made of Matter and discuss that with them. Students will add to their models, drawing in their notebooks. On Thursday at home, they'll go through the slides and observe the chromatography in the embedded videos. We'll review their observations of the chromatography on Friday. Feel free to pause the video to take a look at the plans in more detail if you want. They just represent one possible way to approach these lessons. Now we're ready to take a look at the planning tool and a 3-step planning process that can help with daily planning, making the most of the combination of resources that will work best for you and your students. Planning with remote resources can be done effectively with these 3 steps. First, look at the at-home resources, the units, and videos. Second, take a look at the corresponding platform lesson for supports like differentiation ideas and embedded formative assessments. And third, decide if you want to make use of any third-party apps to engage your students. This format, called the planning tool, can be found on the science curriculum page of the FCPS Navigator. There's also a sample page for at-home lesson 5 that's posted in Navigator, so you can see an example of the planning tool once it's completed. Step 1, looking at the at-home resources, and Step 2, looking at the platform supports in the lesson brief, are completed in the sections labeled here. On the second page of the document, there are places for notes on how you might choose to use a digital word wall, implement technologies, and other notes. Additionally, reminders for where to find Amplify resources for planning are listed at the end. For example, the success criteria can be written using the lesson level 3D statement, which is found on the lesson brief page. In Step 1, you'll want to access the Program Hub and open the Teacher Overview document. Read through the Chapter at a Glance section and the lesson summary for the lesson that you're ready to plan. Check out the ideas for synchronous or in-person instruction if you're able to meet with your class remotely that day. As you are filling in the investigation question for that day's lesson, remember, it can be found in the Chapter at a Glance section of the Teacher Overview. You can see the corresponding platform lesson on the individual lesson summaries. The bulleted key activities are listed there as well. So here's a completed lesson plan for at-home lesson 5, which was developed from lesson 1.5. I decided I'd like to do this lesson synchronously because I wanted to introduce the red dye problem and hear their ideas on what they learned in the chromatography test. After using the fan model, I wanted to hear their reflections to check for understanding. After looking at the student slides and thinking about what I'd want students to write in their notebooks, I made some notes to guide instruction in the right-hand column. Success criteria can be developed looking at the 3D statement on the lesson page. I found the 3D statement by clicking the Standards tab on the left-hand side of that lesson brief page. I used this 3D statement to write the success criteria for the lesson. Now I'm going to take a glance at the at-home video. Since I'm teaching the lesson synchronously, I decided I may go back and watch the video section from lesson 1.5 to see how the teacher handled discussion when the students predict about the fan model and discuss those observations. If students are absent from the synchronous session, I could assign these videos for them to watch. Step 2 involves looking at the platform lesson brief for ideas on presentation, differentiation, and formative assessment. You may want to open the lesson slides to look at the presenter notes and decide whether you'd like to use those for a synchronous session instead of the at-home slides. Selecting differentiation from that purple menu on the left, I can find suggestions for strategies to help target learners with different needs. If you look through the activity tabs on the platform lesson, you'll see the hummingbird icon for formative assessment suggestions. I've listed a few differentiation strategies I want to implement here on the planning tool, and I noticed there's an on-the-fly assessment in Activity 4, where I can watch for alternative conceptions about properties of molecules that might have carried over from the model. I've marked pages suggested to possibly revisit in the book Made of Matter. For a complete listing of all embedded formative assessments in the unit, remember that you can look on the unit landing page under Teacher References. The third step in planning is to decide if you'd like to make use of any third-party applications in the presentation of the lesson. You might have noticed that I suggest the student sheet in this lesson could be put into Pear Deck if desired. I know different teacher teams around the district are using a wide variety of apps to connect effectively with their students. Just a heads up on when your third unit materials will be ready. The videos for the Earth system are already on the Program Hub, and the at-home unit will be posted January 15th. Please feel free to contact me with any questions or to set up a time to discuss anything remotely. I hope this has been helpful for you. Remember that the planning tool is located on the navigator on your 5th grade science curriculum page under the Supporting Resources section. I'm Patty Works, and my email address is pworks@amplify.com. Thank you.